My spouse sent a message from her folks' place. I'm staying put until you get me a fresh SUV. I shot back, got it. Right after, I scaled back her phone service and axed her memberships. 3 days on, her dad rang up to broker her retreat. Me, a 38-year-old guy, work as a designer of buildings. My whole field hinges on one core idea. A building stands firm only if its base is unyielding. For nearly a decade, I figured the bedrock of my union with Emily, 35, was rock solid, forged from common goals and equal regard. Now I realize it was mere dirt nurturing her sense of privilege. The initial crack came during a chat about our ride, a reliable 4-year-old compact. To Emily, it screamed average. Her crew was climbing into luxury crossovers and she sensed the lag. I steadily pointed out that a $70,000 ride clashed head-on with our 5-year strategy, the blueprint we'd sketched jointly to bankroll a parcel for me to craft and erect our lifelong dwelling. Our vision. Her comeback was 7 days of tactical quiet, broken by exaggerated exhales at ads for upscale autos. Over the recent weekend, she headed to see her parents, Richard and Susan. A standard jaunt until the note that hit my screen that Sunday evening. Emily, I'm not returning until you snag me a new SUV. I've deserved it. My folks back me. Don't reach out until you're on the lot. I scanned it repeatedly. The bold nerve, the bargain basement vibe of it. The offhand roping of her family as morale squad. It was a deadline, a raid for control of our bond. Every urge yelled to dial, to vent fury, to insist on clarity. But as a builder of structures, I skipped the wrecking ball for precise dismantling when needed. Fury breeds disorder. A calculated reply forms order. I keyed one lone term and dispatched it. Got it. Then I fired up my computer and started sketching fresh designs. Start with the small indulgences. Our charge card bill was a chart of her routine, one I mostly bankrolled. I hopped online and signed into the trio of sign-up services tied to my details. Her fashion delivery, a fancy food prep service, and an elite vino delivery. Terminated. For the scattered other deliveries charged to my plastic, I knew axing them individually would drag. So I chose a sharper path. I visited my card issuer's site, flagged the card as missing, and ordered a replacement with fresh digits sent my way. In under 2 days, all autopulls would start bouncing. Next, the tech lifeline. We ran a premium household cell package under my control. I dropped her slot to the bare-bones option. No boundless web, no tethering, merely voice and messages. Sufficient to summon aid, insufficient for non-stop scrolling through lives she resented. I then swapped the codes for all 5 joint video platforms. This wasn't spite. It was enforcing outcomes that echoed her moves. She had solo proclaimed herself an outsider to our alliance until her wishes were fulfilled. Fine then. I was just recalibrating the shared assets in that alliance to match her updated role. The home grew hushed. Passing her workspace, I spotted the oversized sketches for our ideal abode fastened to the bulletin. The detailed strokes, the precise annotations, the essence of our imagined tomorrow. A tomorrow she'd swap for a prestige ride. The sorrow hit hard, a tangible press on my ribs. It was mourning the partner I imagined I'd wed, but then I'd reread her note. I've deserved it. And the sorrow ebbed, giving way to a cool, sharp focus. The base was tainted. Time for a thorough evaluation. Update 1. 6 days passed. The early quiet from Emily was, no doubt, triumphant. She'd launched her strike and awaited the sure capitulation. Her first alert of issues would have been minor. A buffer that hung forever. A video service prompting for a code she lacked. The ring came Friday evening, not from her naturally, from her dad, Richard. Michael. Glad you answered, he kicked off, his tone dripping phony, robust cheer that always grated on me. Hear me out, I reckon there's a minor mix-up that's blown up too big. I'm not clear on what's to mix up, Richard, I stated, voice even. Don't make this tough, kid. Emily's over here all worked up, claims her device is glitchy, says you're icing her out. I'm reaching out, guy to iron this flat. We gotta bring her back. There it was, guy. The smug tap on the shoulder from the guy who still treated his 35-year-old kid like a trophy to handle. Her device handles calls fine, and she's free to return anytime she chooses to, I answered. A beat. I caught his exhale, a noise of staged forbearance. See, she's a delicate sort, you get that. She just craves some value. A fresh ride's no huge lift for someone in your spot. Her mom and I have always covered her, and we figured her spouse would pick up that thread. The creed of her whole clan exposed. She wasn't my equal. She was a ward whose upkeep had shifted hands. My spot, I said, tone firming, is as her spouse in an alliance rooted in esteem. Deadlines aren't esteem. Ransoming our union isn't esteem. And honestly, Richard, you backing this move is the opposite of esteem I can picture. The chumminess evaporated. Mind how you speak, he barked. We are her kin. We're aiding her claim what's due. What's due her is a grown-up talk with her spouse, I fired back, which I'm eager for solo, sans a roster of wishes and sans her kin playing bouncers. This marks the end of me hashing my union with you. Emily knows my digits. I ended the call. My grip stayed steady this round. I sensed a deep, icy precision. This wasn't a fit. It was a deal-making ploy her parents had drilled into her. They truly thought this was marital bargaining. They'd pegged their mark wrong. They viewed me as a meek, yielding earner. They missed that a structure designer's top asset is profound, ironclad endurance for procedure. They craved a swift clash. I was gearing for a blockade. Come morning, I didn't merely ping a split-up lawyer. I scheduled a full-fee session for the next week. Time to snag an expert scan of the harm. Update 2, 7 days post the chat with Richard, they ramped up, sharply. I pulled into the drive after a project check to see a shiny dark coupe, Richard and Susan's, parked out front. The entry swung wide before I hit the steps. It was Emily, bookended by her parents, her look one of poised assurance. Michael, she uttered, like hailing a subordinate, we must discuss. Immediately, I halted on the path, agreed we discuss once your parents depart. Susan advanced, her grin narrow and pointed. Baloney, Michael. We're present as facilitators for a smooth resolution. This isn't facilitation, it's a raid. I said, stare pinned on Emily. I spelled out my conditions to your dad. You and me. Solo, spare the theatrics. Emily snapped, poise cracking. I'm not stepping inside solo with you. You've turned nasty and honestly, you're alarming me. The charge was so ridiculous, so blatantly scheming that I nearly chuckled. I've fired off one note in a fortnight, but if you need safeguards, that says plenty. You get 60 seconds for your parents to head to their ride, or this talk ends pre-start. Richard began to swell, but Emily, catching the resolve in my look, shooed him away. All right, sit in the vehicle. They pulled back, eyes vowing payback. She breezed by me indoors. I can't fathom the small-minded kid stuff you're pulling, she launched, pitch climbing. My bandwidth, my streams, my delivery kits. It's cash control. Is it, I queried, shutting the entry, or is it me halting the backing of perks for one who's ditched our home and our tie? You're welcome to cover your own fun, Emily. From which funds? You know my pay, you're meant to be my spouse. And you're meant to be my spouse, I parried. The cash you crave for the ride is identical to what we earmarked for our dwelling. I nodded toward my workspace, blueprints tacked up. Her gaze tracked and she snorted, a raw bark of scorn. Oh, spare me your quaint sketches, that absurd fantasy pad. It was never real, Michael, just your side gig to occupy you. My side gig, years of our joint tomorrow, the heart of our cash and heart blueprinting, brushed off as a diversion. That one line cut deeper than any deadline. Before I could counter, she marched to the workspace. I'm grabbing my gear, she declared. She snatched her upscale purse and machine. Then she yanked my rare design tomes from the rack and crammed them into a carryall. Those belong to me, Emily, my tone perilously soft. Count them as leverage, she jeered. Then she lunged for the board. She yanked the key front view sketch, the one I'd penned freehand on fine sheet. And I'll snag this as a memento of your hollow vows. In a flash of raw, vengeful fury at her slipping grip, she started creasing it. Not gently, but with deliberate slop, mangling the fragile sheet, wrecking hours of exact labor. The guy who cherished her faded, the partner who'd mourned vanished. Left was the designer eyeing someone raise his core creation. I skipped the yell. I eased away, cell in palm, and punched emergency services. Yes, I stated evenly to the dispatcher, gaze fixed on Emily's stunned visage. I'd like to flag a household upset. My separated spouse, absent from here for a fortnight, has invaded my space on bogus claims and is wrecking and trying to pilfer my private and work items. Emily halted, the mangled sketch slipping from slack digits. No arms, I went onto the line, but she's behaving wildly and her parents idle outside. I'm worried it might spike. Kindly dispatch officers to maintain order. I borrowed their phrasing, maintain order. I wasn't seeking verdict or sentence, I sought observers and calmers. The board had flipped. Update 3, 5 months post the raid. For those imagining the emergency call as a fix-all, rest assured, it wasn't. It was just the opening play in a drawn-out, punishing match of strategy. Cops showed as anticipated. They stayed wary adept and their expressions firmed when Emily claimed, I'm his spouse, this is my space. They tagged it a private dispute right off. They backed neither side, but my plan clicked. I stayed composed. I flashed the call record proving my ask for her parents' exit. I highlighted the mangled sketch and volumes in her sack, not as a robbed soul, but as the upset spark. Emily, meanwhile, unraveled, swinging from sobs to claims. Her parents charging in just worsened it. The badges did their drill. They cooled it. They split us and logged all in an impartial event summary. The summary noted the basics. Individuals wed but woman has stayed at kin's for 14 days. Clash sparked by man's private items. Individuals parted for the night. No penal action, better yet. It was an official, outsider log of her volatility and our split's precise sequence. My counsel dubbed it a flawlessly captured image of the wedlock's fracture. The ensuing weeks were torment. Emily got counsel and the claims rolled. Her barrister, a predator in fine threads, cast me as a domineering, harmful beast. They pushed for interim mandates seeking steep mate aid, sole home access, and a slew of other nonsense. We landed in domestic court for a prelim session. Emily, prepped spot on, milked the sufferer role. My counsel just dropped the truths, her note deadline, my even reply, the event summary, and my cash logs displaying axed perks against her push for a $70K ride. The bench wasn't bought by her show. He was practical. He denied her the home. He did, though, grant her interim mate aid, a hefty monthly sum that knotted my gut. She remains your spouse with lesser income power, he noted bluntly. Till this wraps, you'll back her. Her initial score, and she with her clan hailed it as a jackpot haul. That's when their privilege turned to my prime tool. Emily's barrister set a guarded pickup with a badge escorting her to haul her stuff. She cleared what she could, but with the officer's eye, she skipped my tomes, my workspace, my gear. The next months dragged with court docs, disclosures where we swapped all cash papers, a botched parley where she and her counsel nixed any deal shy of a huge sum and the fabled ride. All the time I shelled the mandated aid, and I observed. Her online profiles, left oddly open, turned into a diary of her bad calls. Lavish meals with pals, fresh high-end garb, a getaway to a retreat. She wasn't stashing the aid cash or eyeing her path. She was frantically propping the mask of a routine she deemed her right, torching my funds as payback. My counsel had me logging each upload precisely. The base was eroding, but not mine, hers. Final update 10 months since Emily's note deadline. Last week, the bench inked the closing order. The edifice is raised and the ground prepped. The shift wasn't one flashy court clash. It was the steady, deliberate pile of proof. The end talks were savage. Her barrister opened sky-high, chasing a fat slice of my nest egg and endless aid. My counsel held fire. He just arrayed his file. Display A, the starting note. Display B, the badge event summary, pinning her as the clash's starter. Display C, a thorough record of her online uploads, matched to her account logs from disclosures, revealing she'd blown almost the full $20,000 interim aid on frill luxuries. Display D, her dodge of steady work despite the bench's nudge at the prelim. My counsel pressed that Emily wasn't after aid for essentials. She was after a kitty for whims, a routine she'd shirked building or holding solo. Her conduct, he noted, showed steady cash recklessness and a balk at fair haggling. Their steam died. They saw a trial would shred her in testimony. We closed. The deal ran thus. The wedlock was brief, so endless aid vanished. She scored a brief recovery aid span, way under prior. We offloaded the home, standard fare, and halved the gains. Post fees, her cut was solid but no game changer. She held her ride and private gear. I retained my tomes, work holdings, nest egg, and reserves. The fallout's been a lesson in raw fallout. Emily's haul vanished fast into her fees and a starter on a cramped, pricey flat. The recovery aid aids but skips her prior routine. The brunch pals drifted once she couldn't match pace. She landed steady work not in a swank exhibit but shop floor. She dwells solo. Her parents, after dumping cash on her barrister, seemed to embrace a fresh stance of hard lessons. Richard and Susan skipped gifting their girl a fresh SUV. They got prime view of their own coddling creed's fallout. As for me, the hush in my compact new spot no longer feels empty. It's serene. It's the quiet of a prepped site set for fresh starts. I saved the mangled design sketch. I had prose smooth and mounted. It graces my fresh workspace, not as a shrine to a shattered vision, but a plan of a key truth grasped. You can't erect a joint tomorrow on a flawed base. It'll invariably tumble. Last month, I dropped earnest on that modest parcel. It's solely mine. The fresh designs I'm crafting are humbler, but the base is flawless, and I'm the sole designer.